Okay, so here's an example of a small JavaScript program to check a password. Now, it's bogus because the password checking is being done in the browser. So anyone that knows how to look at JavaScript, be able to look at this code and figure out what the password was. Normally, we would do the password checking back on a Python web server, but I just want to demonstrate the ability of a Java program to interrogate the JavaScript program to interrogate the document object model to get information out of it. So a simple password program is a good way to demonstrate that. So let's create an HTML document. I'll put in an HTML tag here. Then I'm going to put in a head. Then I'll put in a title. Close my title. Close my head. And now we'll put in a body. And we'll create a form. All right, so this form is going to have an ID of form. It's going to have a name of equal to form. Oops, form. We're going to have a method. Method is post. And our action is going to be nothing. We're not going to do anything with the action. Okay. So that's the beginning of our form. Now let's put some things in here. So we're going to have a password. Let's do, all right, we'll cheat a little bit. So I'm going to say password. And we're going to set this to an input type equals password. And we're going to give this a name equal to password and an ID equal to password. Oops. An ID equal to password as well. Let's see if we can shrink that. There we go. All right, and we'll close the input type. And we're going to put a break here. Okay, and then we're going to say retype password. And we're going to repeat this input tag, but we're going to give it a slightly different name, a slightly different ID so we can check it. So the ID is going to be retype password. And the name is retype password. Okay. All right, so I'm going to close the form. And I'll close the body. And I will close the HTML. And let's see, there's just one other thing I have to do on the form. I have to create a submit button. So input type equals submit. And ID equals submit. And name equals, a lot of submits here, submit, and value equals submit. All right. And we'll close that. Okay. And let's talk about this form as it stands. All right. So the idea here is the user is going to type in their password in this first input field, type their password again in the second retype password input field, and then press the submit button. And then something magical is going to happen. Now, normally we would send these passwords back to the Python server, and the Python server could check both passwords and then return something that says, yeah, that was good, or no, or jump to another page or whatever. But what we're going to do instead is capture the input, the submit button being pressed. We're going to capture that by an event handler in JavaScript, and we're going to check locally to see if the passwords are okay. And if they're okay, we'll say that the password's okay, and if they're not okay, we'll do something else. Actually, if they're okay, we're going to return true, and if they're not okay, we're going to let the user know that there's an error. All right, so one other piece that's missing here is after the form, I'm going to add in my body, I'm going to add a link to my JavaScript file. So script type equals text/JavaScript. And then I'm going to say source is equal to word.js. And then I'm going to close that. And I think I can just do this. It's kind of a shorthand. I could also do this. I don't want to do that. Let's see if I can get away with just doing that script type without that. We'll find out. If it's an error, I'll come back and fix that. But it'd be nice if I could just do that. Okay, cool. So everything's closed up. Everything's nice, neat, and tidy. The thing that I have to do to make this work is I'm going to have to register an event handler in password.js with the form on submit. All right. So when the submit button gets pressed and we're actually doing the submit, we're going to capture the two passwords, this one here and this one here, and we're going to check them and make sure that they're correct. All right. So, and by correct, I mean that they're equal to each other. Okay. So let's save this. Let's go over to, well, you know what? Let's debug it. So we've got password.html. Why don't I just open this with Google Chrome and see what it looks like? Okay, there's it. There it is. Password, retype password, and submit. All right, so I'm going to type my password, CSRocks55. Type my password again, CSRocks55. Click submit, and nothing happens because I don't have any JavaScript written to process this. Okay, so why don't we go back to our code. I'm going to bring up Xcode again, and here is my password.js, and I'm going to write some code for password.js. Now, since I want to show the editor only, kind of neat. Oh, cool. Actually, this is quite useful. So let's see if I can do file open, and we're going to put in the HTML file. So courses, CS324, JavaScript, password HTML. It already sees it there. That's not what I want. I want this over here. Or maybe I can change that. I don't know. Okay. Well, I don't want to spend a lot of time fooling around with this, so I'll tell you what. We'll close that. Wish there was some cool way of doing this. Nope. All right, so I'll tell you what. I'm just going to put this over here. Maybe I'll put it over here like this, and we'll flip back and forth between the two so we can see what we're doing here. Okay, so I'm going to write some code. Now, the code I want to write here, the first piece of code I want to write here is a code that gets the elements, gets the DOM elements, the ones that we're interested in. So there's three different elements in this HTML file that we're interested in accessing and manipulating for the JavaScript program to work. So the first element is this password element, okay? And we can access that because we've set an ID of password, right? So the password element is this input text box where the password's being typed. So I'm going to say var the password equals, and I'm going to say document dot get elements, get element by ID. And I'm going to pass in password. Okay. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is do var the retype password. And I'm going to set that equal to another document get element by ID. But this time it's going to be the retype password get element by ID. All right, so that second variable will give me access to this input. Password name equals retype password, ID equals retype password. Okay, finally, var the form equals document dot get element by ID form. So that'll get me access to this entire form. That's critical because the thing that I need to know from the form is when the submit button is pressed, there is an event called onSubmit for the form. So that event's going to happen, and I want to say, hey, when that event happens, when the onSubmit happens on the form, I want an event handler to get executed. Okay, so we've got these three variables that give us access to various elements in the document object model. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the form dot on submit equals check password. Whoops. Check password. Okay. So that line, I'm not being very consistent with the semicolons here, so let's put them on, even though we don't need them. It's kind of a habit from other languages. Okay, equals check password. Now that means that when the submit event occurs on the form, I want my event handler check password to run. All right, I haven't written it, but I'm going to write it right now. This is my event handler. Okay, so we'll do a setup event handler. And then here is the event handler. And here we go, function check password. And what we're going to do is we're going to check a couple of different kinds of passwords. So first of all, I want to think about all the things that can go wrong. All right. So what's one thing that can go wrong? Well, what if password and retype password aren't equal? So if the password, now password is a DOM element. So DOM elements have special members that you can access. And a DOM element that is an input type DOM element has something called a value. So we can look at the value. That's what the user's going to type in that password text box. So if the password value is not equal to the password, the retype password dot value, then that's an error. So we're going to say that's an error, and the error is alert. We'll say alert passwords. Oops. Passwords do not match. All right. And then we're going to return false. All right, else if the password dot value, I like this autocomplete, it's kind of neat. The password dot value is equal to the empty string, then we're going to do another alert. Alert password is empty. Got to be consistent with those semicolons. Just because I want to be. I don't really need them, but and we're going to return false. All right. Else, things are good. So we're just going to return true, meaning we accepted them. Okay, so that's my event handler. So let's save this. And let's go back to program and let's refresh. And let's try typing in a password. So my password is CSRocks55, CSRocks55, and click submit. Nothing happened. Now the question is it actually working? I don't know. Because I just tried the true case, it returns true if the passwords match. So I really don't have any indication that things are good. Why don't I try messing up the password? So let's say the password is CSRocks55, and over here I type CSRocks without a 55. Click submit. Nothing happened. I think something funny's going on. All right, now, how do I know how to fix this? Well, I could go back and look at my code and go, oh boy, what did I do wrong? Let's take a look. All right, what did I do wrong here? Well, I could just look at the code and hope that I got things figured out. Or what I could do is I could bring up the, you know what I could do is I could bring up the development tools here and maybe we can see what's going on. So here, go to tools, bring up the developer tools. All right, so let's see. So this is the HTML that I wrote. I can see this looks okay. I don't really see anything crazy there. Let's see if password.js, when we click on it, do we get anything? Let's look at console. I don't see anything there. Let's look at sources. There's password.html. What it looks like is it looks like it's not picking up the password.js file. Like it's not actually picking up the script because I don't see it in sources here. Okay, so we have to figure out where is this password.js. Okay, so first of all, let's check to make sure that password.js was saved. Maybe it's just empty. So we'll do a file, save, close this, and let's just look. Looks like we have some bytes there in password.js. Open that in Google Chrome. Okay, so it definitely looks like it's there. All right, so let's go back to password program, click refresh. Go to sources. It is not picking up password.js. Oh, well, there could be some, remember how I said, let's go back here and check password.html. We'll open that with Xcode again. And we'll change this script to /script. Okay, and we'll save that. And let's see if we refresh that, if we actually pick it up now. Ah, there we go. So you remember a little bit earlier I was saying, oh, I think I'll just see if this slash is a shortcut for setting the script tag. Well, it's not. You really have to do a beginning and an open script element and a closed script element, or things aren't going to work. Okay, so now I have definitely loaded password.js. There's all the code for it. And let's try running this again. CS rocks 55, CS rocks 55, submit. All right, maybe that worked. CS rocks 55, CS rocks, submit. Oh, look, passwords do not match. Okay, that's cool that that's working. Let's try a blank password. Submit. Oh, password is empty. Okay, cool. So it looks like it works. I'd like to make sure that when we have a situation where the password checks out and it's true that that code's actually working. So one way I could do that is I could go into password.js and edit the code here in the else statement. This is the else for when the passwords match. So I could edit that and I can add another alert. But actually, another way we could do that is we could set a breakpoint right there at return true. So if the passwords match, we should hit this breakpoint. So I just by clicking on the line number, I just set the breakpoint. So let me say CS rocks 55, CS rocks 55, and click submit. Boom, look at that. I am now paused right at that breakpoint. So the debugger that's built into this, the Chrome tools, is incredible. It's really, really useful. So there's all kinds of cool things that we can look at. So one of the things we can look at is variables. So there's a variable that is this. Remember, we said in an earlier program, we were looking at this.id. And so this is the form, because that's the thing that the event handler is processing the event on. So we can explore the form if we want to. And I just want to look at ID, which should also be form. If we can find it, there's a lot of stuff here. Look at all these events that you can do on copy, on cut, on paste, on abort, blah, 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 on and on and on. But on submit, it says check password. And that's because we set up the onSubmit event handler. So that's pretty cool. But pretty much all the other event handlers, for the most part, are taken up by other things. Oh, there's ID right there. So ID set to form. I want to go back here just for a second. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I find it really annoying. So like you type in a password and then you copy and paste that password into the retype password field. Well, look at this. Have you ever noticed that sometimes when you do that, it just doesn't allow you to paste it? There's an on-paste event here. So you could set up an event handler to prevent users from doing the paste into the retype password field if you wanted to. That's pretty cool. You can even set up to say like error, don't do this. Or in most cases, people just set it up so that it's ignored. Okay, if I want to continue, I'm just going to hit play here, resume, and my program will continue running. All right, fantastic. Well, that takes care of our second example of doing things with JavaScript.